Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Her text came through just as I was picking up her dry cleaning with a friend tonight. Don't worry, kiss mark. I didn't even finish reading it before my heart sank. It wasn't the message, it was the emoji, the kiss, the same one she used to send me before things got cold, before I became background noise in my own life. But here's the twist. I wasn't at the dry cleaners. I had just parked across the street from Lorenzo's Bistro, that upscale Italian place she claimed was too expensive for date night. I was there because something had been gnawing at me for weeks. The late-night showers, the locked phone, the fake laughs at texts she never let me see. And as if fate had a flair for the dramatic, there she was outside. I was gripping my steering wheel so hard the leather creaked. Inside, she was leaning across a candlelit table, whispering to a man with hair too perfect to trust. She was wearing that dress, the one she said was for special occasions. Apparently Tuesdays now counted. I watched her smile like I hadn't seen in years. I watched him place his hand over hers. And I snapped a photo, not to confront her, not yet, but because I needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't paranoid, that this wasn't all in my head like she said the last time I questioned her nights out. And then I texted her. Yeah, I'm watching you have dinner with him right now. She read it instantly. She froze. She looked up, scanning the room like a deer inches from the bumper. I stepped out of the car. The air was sharp, the kind that burns your nose and matches the burn in your chest. I didn't care about the other couples, the waitstaff, or the soft jazz playing from the speakers. I walked in. Her eyes widened like I had risen from the grave. Her date turned, confused. And me? I pulled up a third chair, sat down slowly and said, "So, how's the food?" She didn't say a word, but her panic said everything. I can still hear the clink of her fork hitting the plate. That tiny accidental sound cut through the restaurant's soft jazz like a scream in a library. She didn't answer me. She didn't move. She just sat there, mouth slightly open like the candle between us had burned a hole in her brain. Her friend, let's call him Hair Gel, leaned back in his chair like he wasn't sure if I was security, a stalker, or both. "Excuse me, can I help you?" he asked, cool as a cucumber dipped in smug. I ignored him. I was staring at her, waiting, hoping she'd say it was a mistake, that I was being ridiculous, that she was here planning my surprise birthday dinner or something that would make me feel like a for doubting her. But nothing came. Just wide eyes and that twitchy little corner smile she did when she was busted as a kid and trying to look innocent. I said I repeated calmly, or at least pretending to be. "How's the food?" I glanced at her wine glass full. "Looks like you're just getting started." Still silence. Then she spoke. Finally. "Barrett. What are you doing here?" I wanted to laugh. That's what she went with. It's not what it looks like. Not I can explain. Just pure defensive confusion. As if I was the one out of line for walking into a public place where my wife was sharing a table, a bottle, and what looked suspiciously like foreplay with a man she never once mentioned to me. Hair Gel looked between us, starting to realize maybe he wasn't the main character in this scene after all. "You know this guy?" he asked her, keeping his tone light but tightening his jaw. She swallowed. "He's my husband." He blinked. "You're married." That did it. I laughed out loud, probably louder than I should have. A few diners turned their heads. One waiter dropped the spoon. And Neely, my sweet, secretive wife, looked like she wanted to vanish into the floor. "Yeah," I said, still laughing but dying inside. She forgets that sometimes. Then I pulled out my phone, slid it onto the table, and tapped the screen. A photo lit up, the one I took earlier from the car. Neely laughing mid-sip, his hand already reaching across the table, her eyes locked on his. "I like to remember the special moments," I said. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. He looked at the screen, then back at her. His face shifted from smug to embarrassed to something else. Couldn't read it. She stood up suddenly. "We need to talk." She hissed at me, grabbing my arm like we were about to argue about which movie to stream. Not the fact that she was on a date with a stranger while married to a man sitting 2 feet away. I didn't budge. "Oh, we'll talk," I said quietly. "But not here. I just came to confirm what I already knew. You can go back to your appetizer." She tried to speak again, but I stood up before she could form a sentence. I turned to Hair Gel. "Enjoy your evening. You two look adorable." And I walked out, but the real storm hadn't even started yet. I don't even remember driving home. It was like I blinked, and suddenly I was sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at my shoes, heart still jackhammering against my ribs. The house felt unfamiliar, like I'd wandered into someone else's quiet life. And the worst part, her wine glass was still on the kitchen counter from last night with that red smear of lipstick on the rim like it was mocking me. 10 minutes later, I heard her car pull into the driveway. She came in fast, no dramatic pause, no slow door creak like in the movies, just keys jangling, heels stomping, breath ragged. I stayed seated. I didn't even look up. "Bear it," she said, her voice already cracking. That wasn't what it looked like. There it was, the oldest line in the betrayal playbook. I let out a soft, joyless laugh, the kind that makes your throat tighten because it's trying to block tears. "Naye," I said, eyes still fixed on the floor. "Don't insult me more than you already have." She started pacing. I could hear her heels clicking against the hardwood, circling like she was gearing up for some Olympic-level gaslighting. "You followed me?" she said sharply, like that was the problem. I finally looked at her. "You lied to me," I said flatly. "You told me you were out with a friend. That's what your message said, right?" She didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it. Instead, she started crying. Real or fake? I couldn't tell anymore. Her hands shook as she pressed them against her face, mascara already smudging. "He's just someone I used to know. We ran into each other a few months ago." "I swear it's not serious," she stammered. That word it shattered something in me. Just an old friend, just dinner, just a wine glass she cleaned up before I got home on other nights. "You wore the dress," I said almost to myself. "You told me it didn't fit." She looked cornered. It didn't then. I lost weight. I wasn't hiding that. "You weren't hiding that," I repeated, nodding slowly. "Right, just everything else." That's when I opened the drawer beside the bed. Inside was a file folder, receipts, phone records, printouts. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed to know. I had to know. And I had known weeks before tonight. I placed the folder on the bed between us. She looked at it like it might bite. "You think I just showed up there by chance?" I asked. "You think I haven't been connecting the dots? The gym sessions you never came back sweaty from? The phone that always died? The weekend conference that didn't exist?" She tried to speak but failed. "I wanted you to say it," I said quietly. "I wanted to hear the truth, but now I realize you can't even do that." And here's the thing that crushed me the most. After everything, after being caught, after being exposed right in front of the guy, she still didn't apologize. She just said, "Barrett, we've been unhappy for a long time." Like that made it fair, like I deserved this. She stood there like she was the victim, like I had ruined a peaceful evening by what? Having eyes, having a brain, having the audacity to connect what was obvious and painful and humiliating. "You can't go through my phone records," she snapped finally after minutes of silence. That was her angle. Privacy, not betrayal, not deception. She was mad. I knew. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't tell her what I really wanted to, that she had gutted me without ever raising her voice. Instead, I just said, "Tell me his name." She hesitated. That alone was an answer. She sat down on the edge of the bed far away from me, her hands clasped tightly like a kid in the principal's office. "It doesn't matter," she muttered. "It does to me," I said, voice shaking now. If I'm going to replay this nightmare for the rest of my life, I'd at least like to have a name to curse. Still silence. So I gave her one. Cameron. Her head jerked up like I'd slapped her. She didn't confirm. She didn't have to. He was in her contacts under marketing guy. I'd seen the texts. I'd seen the photos. One of them at a bar, another in his car, both taken from her phone. That folder I dropped on the bed wasn't just for drama. I built it over 3 weeks, piece by piece, hoping I was wrong, praying it was just paranoia. But when you start compiling evidence like that, you're not trying to prove they're cheating. You're trying to prove you're not crazy. You've been seeing him for how long? I asked. Still no answer. Was it just dinner? I pushed. Just drinks? Just back seats? Just hotel rooms under fake names? She snapped at that. Don't talk to me like I'm some. What? Like someone who cheats? Someone who lies and gaslights and sends cutesy texts while their husband folds laundry at home? I stood up. I wasn't calm anymore. I was dizzy with everything I didn't know. Every Wednesday she worked late. Every girl's night. Every innocent plan she made with a kiss emoji at the end. It all turned rotten in my mind. I don't even know what's real anymore, I whispered. She rubbed her forehead. We weren't working, Barrett. You knew that. I turned to her slowly. So, you burned it down instead of speaking up. I didn't plan for this, she said softer now. It just happened. That line, it just happened. Like the betrayal was spilled coffee. Not a choice. Like sleeping with someone else just slipped into her schedule between morning yoga and my mother's birthday dinner. She got up and reached for my hand. I stepped back. Don't, I said. Not when I'm still trying to figure out how you looked me in the eye yesterday. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she. We sat in the same house, breathing the same stale air, and said nothing. But I could tell she already knew it was over. She just didn't know what I'd do next. And truth be told, neither did I. The next morning didn't feel like morning. There was sunlight, but it didn't warm anything. The house was dead quiet, as if it too had been betrayed. I made coffee like a robot, barely noticing. I poured it into her favorite mug. Old habits don't vanish just because someone does. She hadn't left. She stayed curled up on the couch in sweatpants and guilt. She didn't say good morning. Neither did I. I was supposed to work that day. I didn't. I just sat at the kitchen table staring at the open folder. Evidence of her choices printed in black and white. Credit card charges for dinners I never got invited to. A hotel receipt from a weekend she claimed she spent at Gwen's lake house. And the worst part, a selfie of them taken in a car. Her head tilted on his shoulder, captioned, "Finally free." I didn't even know that photo existed until I checked our shared cloud storage. She forgot to disconnect her auto backup. When she finally spoke, it wasn't an apology. It was a question. So, what now? Just like that, as if we were deciding where to order lunch. No remorse, no trembling voice, just cold practicality. It scared me more than anything else, she'd said. What now? I repeated, not looking at her. Now you wait for what? For me to fall apart, I said. Isn't that what you expected? That I'd cry, beg you to choose me, forgive you because I'm the safe option. She didn't deny it. Her silence told me I nailed it. I stood up and walked past her toward the hallway. She followed, hovering like she was waiting for me to erupt, but I didn't. I opened the hallway closet, pulled down a suitcase, and placed it on the bed. You can stay here tonight, I said. I'll go to a hotel. You're leaving? She asked, surprised. You're seriously walking out? No, I said slowly. I'm removing myself. There's a difference. You're being dramatic, Barrett. That hit hard. Not because it was true, but because it was her reflex to belittle, deflect, shut me down. I used to brush it off. Now I saw it for what it was. Disrespect wrapped in familiarity. You cheated on me. I said quietly. Don't talk to me about drama. She crossed her arms. So what? You're just done? No, I said you were done. I'm just catching up. That's when she broke down. Real or not? The tears came. She tried to block the door, said we could go to therapy, said I shouldn't throw away everything over a mistake. But here's what I told her. Mistakes are tripping on the stairs. What you did was a plan. And that's when she changed tactics. You think he actually wants me? She snapped. You think I'm going to run off into the sunset with him? He's not even that serious. I blinked. Then you blew up our marriage for nothing. That shut her up. The thing about betrayal is, it's not always about love. It's about power. She thought I'd crawl, thought I'd compete, thought I'd fight for someone who already gave herself away. And maybe I would have if she told the truth the first time, but she waited until there was nothing left to save. It was past midnight when she finally crept into the bedroom. I was awake, of course, lying on top of the covers, staring at the ceiling, counting every second she stayed in the house like it was a punishment. I'd gone through every phase: rage, sorrow, disbelief. But now I was somewhere darker, numb, detached. I could have been a statue and still felt more alive than I did then. She didn't turn on the light, just stood in the doorway like a child, afraid to wake a sleeping parent. After a moment, she stepped closer and sat at the foot of the bed without asking. Her weight barely shifted the mattress. I need to tell you something, she said. I didn't respond. She took that as permission. She started talking, not loud, not apologetically, almost clinically, like she had rehearsed it in her head 100 times, and finally gave herself permission to recite it. She told me she met Cameron at a work event, a networking brunch she didn't invite me to because it was only for professionals. They kept in touch, shared books, music, coffee. Then one night, he kissed her. She didn't stop him. It felt nice to be wanted, she said. I just stared at the ceiling. Then she said the words, I'll never forget. Not because they were shocking, but because they were so honest it physically hurt. I didn't sleep with him because I stopped loving you, Barrett. I slept with him because I started seeing you as a roommate. You never noticed when I walked in the room anymore. You stopped asking me questions. You just disappeared into the background. My jaw clenched hard, not out of anger, but because she'd finally answered the question I didn't want to ask. Why him? Why now? I sat up, finally meeting her eyes. And that's how you handle that, by replacing me with someone who smiles at your book, Rex. She didn't flinch. I know it was wrong. Wrong? I echoed, shaking my head. You built a whole life behind my back. You lied with your eyes and laughed in my face and came home to a man you couldn't even look at anymore. And the word you land on is wrong. She swallowed. I'm not saying I didn't love you. I just stopped feeling like I mattered to you. There it was again. Justification wrapped in self-pity. She wanted me to believe that her cheating was the result of my emotional absence. Like my quietness somehow signed a permission slip for her to sleep with someone else. But here's the truth. She didn't want to admit. I didn't notice her walking into the room. I just stopped saying anything because I didn't feel safe anymore. Every conversation ended with sarcasm. Every gesture from me was met with indifference. Every time I reached for her hand, it felt like asking a favor. I breathed out slowly. So what now, Nayi? You said that like it's closure. Like now that you've confessed, I'm supposed to what? Heal. She looked down. I don't know what you want me to do. Then maybe you should have thought about that before any of this started. She wiped her eyes, nodded, and whispered something I couldn't quite believe she had the audacity to say. I wish you had stopped me. I nearly laughed. You mean the part after you lied to me? After the fake texts, after the wine glasses and perfume, and strangers knowing more about your life than I did? She stood up, finally realizing how far gone this was. I just didn't think you'd ever leave. You're you. Exactly. Ami, the safe one, the boring one, the one who folds the towels and never checks her phone, the man who wasn't dramatic until she gave him a reason to be. But now she had no idea what I was going to do next. I didn't sleep that night either. The bed felt smaller with her in it. Not physically, just wrong. Like everything I used to find comfort in had been replaced with something colder. I stayed still, eyes open, pretending to be asleep while my mind spun in circles, questioning everything I thought I knew about the woman lying inches from me. By morning, I had made a decision. I waited until she went into the bathroom to shower. She left her phone on the nightstand like she always did. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. I had already seen enough. Instead, I picked up my phone and drafted a text. Not to her, not to Gwen or Rachel or anyone mutual. I sent it to someone I never imagined I'd contact. Cameron, the man from the restaurant, the man with the wine glass, the man who was apparently just someone I used to know. I had found his number weeks ago. Nearly once gave it to me by accident when she sent a reminder text that didn't match any plans we had. I traced it. That's how deep I had started falling into suspicion before all this exploded. So I wrote, "I'm not threatening you. I just want one honest answer. Did you know she was married the whole time?" It took 15 minutes for him to respond. I nearly threw up waiting. Then finally, yeah. She said it was ending, that you were just roommates. I stared at the message for a long time. My hands shook, not with anger, with a strange kind of grief. He knew. He knew. And she told him a version of me that barely resembled the man I was. A ghost placeholder, not a husband. A minute later, another message followed. "Look, man, I'm sorry. I'm not proud of it. I backed off when I saw your face at the restaurant. Didn't know it was like that." I didn't reply. What would I even say? Thanks for screwing my wife with partial guilt. I deleted the thread, placed my phone face down, and walked into the bathroom doorway as the steam poured out behind her. She looked at me like she still had some kind of hold over me. "What?" she asked. I didn't answer, just looked at her. Really looked. For the first time in weeks, I saw her clearly. Not the woman I married, not even the woman I loved, just someone I used to know. She wrapped the towel around her, walked past me, and stopped in the hallway like she was expecting a dramatic moment. Instead, I simply said, "I messaged him." Her face drained of color. "I wanted to know what story you told him," I continued. "And you know what? It wasn't even about you cheating anymore. It was about realizing you had rewritten me into someone I didn't recognize. I didn't mean to," she started. "But you did." I cut in. "You needed to feel better about what you were doing. So you turned me into a villain in his version of events. The quiet, disconnected husband, the invisible man." She didn't deny it. She just stood there clutching the towel like armor. "I'm not invisible, Neely." I said, "I saw everything, felt every lie, and now I'm done." This time I wasn't bluffing, and she knew it. She didn't follow me. Not when I packed the bag, not when I grabbed my keys, not even when I stood at the front door for one long minute waiting to see if she'd say something, anything to stop me. But silence was the only answer she gave. There was no speech, no final plea, no dramatic apology, just the soft thud of my shoes on hard wood as I walked out of a life that no longer belonged to me. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't shaking. I didn't even cry. I just exhaled like someone finally cracked a window in a room that had been suffocating me for years. I didn't go to a hotel. I drove to my brother's place 2 hours away. When he opened the door, he didn't ask a single question. Just hugged me and said, "Took you long enough." I stayed there for 3 days. No text from her, no calls, just me, some old movies, cold pizza, and a growing sense of peace that felt unfamiliar but good. On the 4th day, I opened my inbox. There it was, an email from Nye. Long rambling, something between a love letter and a confessional. She said she was sorry, that she missed me, that she didn't know how empty the house would feel without my quiet footsteps and boring routines. And then she wrote, "Maybe someday we can talk, even just as friends." I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer. It wasn't about revenge. I didn't want to destroy her. I didn't even want to hurt her. I just wanted out cleanly, quietly. Finally, the divorce was filed. She didn't contest it. 6 months later, I moved into a small apartment with terrible wallpaper and the best morning light I've ever seen. I bought new plates, new towels, even started cooking again just for me. No audience, no silent judgment across the table. And one morning while sipping burnt coffee and scrolling through job postings, I smiled like genuinely unintentionally smiled. Not because life was perfect, but because for once it was mine again. No more pretending. No more walking on eggshells. No more waiting for someone to love me correctly. Just me and peace and the slow, honest work of starting over. So tell me, what part of the story hit you the hardest? Was it the restaurant moment, the confession, the quiet ending? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions for more real, raw stories every week. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk.